Alright, welcome to another tabletop review. Today we're talking knives, and the knife in particular we're talking about is the Spyderco Assist. I've got it in the orange FRN model, 4.5 inches closed, 8.5 open with a 4-inch blade, made of VG10, and of course the FRN handle, stainless steel liner, and stainless steel, well, brushed steel pocket clip. It will do you good because it won't scratch or anything like that. Well, this is a knife I picked up about a month ago. Been carrying it to test it out, giving it some, some obvious cutting tasks, rope, paper, anything in between, and it stood up very well. In fact, we're talking about that near to the end of the review. Let's start with some of its cool features. As you can see, it's a really unique look, kind of a deeply choiled, made for gripping handle, as well as a wavy edge blade, and that'll be because of one of the other features of the knife, a glass breaking tip. So basically you just squeeze it, and there you have something to break through windows and other stuff to pull people out of them. And again, knife's called the Assist because it's designed for firefighters, police, paramedics, people who are going to be pulling people out of lots of motor vehicles or other, potentially dangerous situations they've gotten themselves into. So let's start with the 4-inch blade that this knife offers. Not very practical for an everyday carry knife. As you can see, total serrations followed by a tiny little bit of an edge, 1 inch actually, so 3 inches serration, spider edge serration, 1 inch flat edge, and then it's got a blunt tip, so no poking things, and it's kind of difficult to open boxes and other stuff with it. But very practical for a paramedic on scene, having to remove someone from a motor vehicle who was actually wearing their seatbelt. Basically what you do is you poke this down underneath the seatbelt and tear up to rip through the seatbelt, which this knife does a really good job of. The spider edge is basically designed to cut through anything tough like rope or seatbelt, and the flat edge is good for precision cutting, so getting through bandages or anything else like that can be useful. But really a unique edge, and a very purpose-built edge. As you can see, also features a nice little cap, a hood, with a little bit of jimping on top. Not bad jimping, by the way. It's done very well. It's kind of elegant, and it really cuts into your skin, which is not in any way a bad thing. You want it to be solid when you grip onto the knife and actually have to push. 14mm spider hole for regular opening. I'll show you here. You can open it that way. Not too bad of an opening. Kind of a heavier blade though, so that's the only problem. And then with the hood, you need a little bit more. But if you're wearing gloves or anything like that, that becomes the most easy way to get the knife open. You don't have to struggle with it or use 2 hands or anything like that. You can just get it open when you need it, which is really neat. The actual handle itself, there are no kind of steel liners. It's completely FRN to cut down on the weight. All in all, the knife only weighs 4 ounces, so that's really light for a big knife like this. I mean, almost 9 inches long, fully open. With as much steel as you're getting with that, gotta say, not a bad job, Spyderco. I mean, you make some light knives, but you make them strong enough. Most of the work that's going to be done by this knife is through the blade and for cutting seat belts and clothing and other things like that, so you don't need a lot of weight in the handle to make sure it's strong. The FRN does more than a good enough job. As well as that lock back design, very strong, no kind of movement at all in the month of hard use I put it through. Still shiny, still nice, taking care of it of course. VG10's held out. Because it's serrated and because there's only a little bit of flat edge, I haven't had to sharpen it either, and it's still just as sharp as the day I got it, which is pretty impressive. I've always had good experience with VG10, but I don't think I've ever had quite this good of experience, and I'm sure that's due to the fact that it's mostly serration cutting through things, and not an everyday use through acidic things like fruits, some vegetables, other everyday tasks. This knife is purpose-built for what its name implies, for assisting in rescue. Another knife Spyderco came out with that was built for this is the I'm just gonna put that aside for a sec. Is the Spyderco Rescue, and it comes in a couple model sizes, just depending on what blade size you want. The Rescue 93mm is the one I have, and I've actually got two different models of that. One of them is the salt version of the knife, so it's made of H1 steel, which is virtually unrustable, and it's built exactly the same. It's also yellow, which is kind of neat because it's more of a diver's knife. But basically with these knives, what you're getting is a very light knife. I can't remember, I think it's only about 2.5 ounces all said and done. Very large blade, purpose-built for cutting through, again, seat belts and rope and things like that. Nice sheepsfoot blade that's nice and smooth to touch, so you can actually poke it down and not worry about stabbing people. But it also has an immediate edge right at the start that can actually get in through boxes and stuff. This knife's also a little bit smaller, as you can see. They're almost the same. I guess I'm wrong there. Really, and I guess it is a bigger knife. The difference is this one, you sacrifice a little bit of blade for this totally rounded down, in fact rounded even underneath, until you make it to the edge front of the blade. This one's a little bit thick. It's 3mm thick, as well as this one is too. They kept the knives fairly strong while getting rid of weight in the handle, because most of the use of the knife, again, isn't going to be from reefing on it in the handle. You don't need that extra support. It's just going to be for sawing through things or slicing through things with the serrations. These knives are really good also, but they lack some of the features that this knife has. Again, no glass breaker, doesn't have the hood for easy access with gloves. This one also has a whistle, which is useful if you need assistance with getting something done and you're away from the scene or something like that. All of them have reversible pocket clips, of course, so they're not the four-way pocket clips you'll see on the Enduras or the Delicas. Spyderco also offers, but they make it so this knife has to be tip-up carry, which is my preferred type of carry. Then again, you might prefer otherwise, and by all means, that's alright. The problem with this knife, when you're carrying it in pocket and you actually use the clip, is that you're left with, here I'm just going to grab a card case to show you here, and while I'm at this I might as well get those off to the side. You're left with about an inch and a half of blade exposed, as well as the fact that this knife is almost an inch thick. You get a lot of blade exposed, basically. And if you're in some places where it's frowned upon to be holding a knife, even though it, is just a rescue knife, blah blah blah, it really shows that you have a knife, especially if you have the orange version. If you have the black, maybe it's more, it would blend in better with your clothes or anything like that. But as for any other purpose, the pocket clip could have been done better. When it comes to the rescue, either of the models, they only give you about half an inch of exposed knife, if that, because of the way that they're kind of flattened down. You can get away with a little bit more than this is showing. You can maybe get away with that after you force it down into your pocket a little bit. But basically, other than that, the whole knife is fantastic to have for its purpose.